Today I'm coming to you with a video on a special date. It is June 19th, also known as Juneteenth. This day is special because the day that Union soldiers got down to Galveston, Texas to let the slaves know that they were now free. Now, this is a little twisted because this came 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, which effectively freed the slaves, but there was really no way for the Union to enforce that because they were still fighting a war with the South. This day is a special occasion for this country because it really marks the day that the slaves were free. Now, going back to my video a couple weeks ago, we also understand that the slaves weren't really free. They were no longer in bondage, but they weren't free in society. And that's where the problem came, because there was really an uproar about all of these newly freed blacks in society. So that's when they created Jim Crow and other caste systems to keep them in line. This is a difficult thing for us to talk about as a society because it kind of breaks down everything we're ingrained to learn in our educational system about the Constitution, the amendments, because we skip over a lot of things between the Civil War, the freedom of slaves, the Civil Rights Act, to where we're at now. We kind of glance over Jim Crow in our education system as the blacks being mistreated, but we really don't go into detail about this, how this became a systemic thing that has seeped down from generation to generation today. We talked about systemic oppression a couple weeks ago, so we can go back to that video and review it, but today I simply want to talk about freedom. Now, we love talking about our freedom, but we rarely talk about the limits of our freedom. As many people believe that we are the freest society on the planet, which is not true. We can go back to any government surveillance law. We can talk about the limits of our freedom, and really our freedoms end where other people's freedoms begin. Like, I couldn't walk into someone's house and start preaching about politics without being invited in, because that's trespassing. This is common sense. Now, when it comes down to social media, this is where we kind of lose our minds because we have the whole perception of being faceless and we can do and say whatever we want, and we expect everybody to allow us to do so. For me personally, when I'm scrolling through on my timeline to see something I don't like, either at a 30-day snooze, I ignore it, or a hide post. My problem comes when people try to come onto my page and take it over, and that's where they're taking away my freedom. Do you guys get this? Do you guys get what the word censorship means? Censorship applies to the government. It applies to the media. Censorship really should mean the government cannot censor the media, but medias are independent institutions, and they can decide what goes, what doesn't, and this is how it goes. Your personal wall is your freedom. So you can decide what someone posts, what someone comments, and so on. This is how it works. Now, if we sit there and run around and we try to take over other people's freedoms, that's where there's a problem, and we lose the social contract that we have with each other. Now, when we talk about the layers of freedom, that's one part of it. Now, are you free to run around and cough in someone's face, not knowing if you're sick or not, to get them sick? Absolutely not. Are you free just to jump in someone's car and take it because you felt like it? Absolutely not. So let's all admit that our freedom, there are limits to this. Now, we're still talking about freedom. Are we actually free? If someone goes ahead and gets themselves in credit card debt, they're not free to do all the things that other people are able to do because they are judged by a credit score. Now, if someone gets in medical debt and that ruins their credit, that takes away their freedom. Now, they didn't do that to themselves because they had to get themselves checked out and get the medical stuff taken care of, but they aren't free. So maybe we need to re-examine this word freedom and actually critically think about the layers of freedom before we just jump off our hook and say that, oh, I'm so free, I can do whatever we want. Everybody's free. Everybody has the same opportunity. No, everybody does not have the same opportunity. I'm sorry I gave this critical thinking exercise, and I feel like I covered the gamut, but I think most of you understand where I'm coming from. What is freedom? I want to hear from you. So, where does freedom end? Where does freedom begin? Because this isn't a black and white answer. This is all about experiences and where we come from. So, what is freedom?